So after classifying the language books, I've already put the reading books in order. I do have a Kindle, so ebook, so I can read whatever. But the ones that I really like, I really like the authors. I buy the paper ones. So these two are from Murakami. This was the biggest book that I really want to read. I already began, but the problem is that I begin several books at the same time. So currently I'm reading around a chapter a day of this Murakami book, the Wind Up Bird Chronicle. And then, I have this other from Murakami, the Kafka on the Shore, that I began also, but I'm reading three books at the same time. That's not good. Then I have whatever I'm interested in. In that case, I wanted to read some about Ethereum, and I barely begin this one. This one I really like because it's good for nights. It's from Bukowski, it's just random poems. Here I have a couple of Swedish reading books. Some Hemingway. I really like short stories, and Hemingway is not my favorite author in terms of short stories because he explains a lot of details. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes I really like authors that go straight to the point. Entrepreneurship, I have some Tim Ferriss. I bought this book when I was in New York for a random spontaneous 4-day trip. This is one of my favorite books. I lent it to my sister and she really liked it as well. I think we read it a couple of times. It's The Philosopher and the Wolf. It's an amazing book, and the book is about this. It's a philosopher teacher and his wolf. It's a real story and I really like it. I have some fiction thing, but this my friend lent it me and I didn't read it yet. It's about elves and so on. And then I have some interesting stuff here. This is from Jane Goodall that probably people remember because she spent like 40 years working with gorillas. And I read both of those books. This one it's more technical about gorillas, but this one she's a religious, I'm not religious, but I found really interesting stuff that really opened my mind here. And I really like this book. So Reasons for Hope, Spiritual Journey. And even though she mentions God and so on, and I'm not religious, it makes you open your mind quite a bit, I think. Not to religious, but in general, like what other people believes and how she relates that to chimpanzees and so on. This one, I have it, I don't know why, because I really didn't like it. Then this is one of the first book I ever read that I fell in love with. It's Walden from Thoreau. After watching the movie Into the Wild, I had to buy this. And I fell in love with it. It was in Spanish, it's in Spanish, and it has tons of underlines. And it was back in 2009, I believe, and I felt like I was some kind of philosopher reading that. And then my second, one of my top favorite books, it's Jack Kerouac, The Dharma Bums. I like this one better than On the Road. On the Road, which I have here, which is ripped because I wanted to put it on my wall, the whole book, but it didn't work out. But anyways, Jack Kerouac, it's amazing. This book is amazing, and when the character, Happy, or Jappy or something like that, but it's like real events, and I really want to read this again. I think I read it twice in a row because I really liked it, especially on train rides and so on. Also, besides that, I have Allen Ginsberg, the typical poem Howl, very typical. This one my mother gave it to me. It's like freelancer's book. It was a present. And then I have this Korean book that I can read Korean, but I don't understand it because my friend from Korea, when we left Canada, he came to visit in Barcelona and he just gave it to me as a present. I hope that someday I'm gonna be able to understand what he wrote in the last page. So that's one of the things that I have pending to do in life. So this one it was from my university. I almost didn't read it, and this one is a big ass book that when I really wanted to travel that I couldn't, and I didn't end up reading it. So it's on hold. It means the worst trip in the world. This one was the first people that I knew that they were living in a van and traveling around the world for 10 years. I didn't know this existed, like that people could live in vans voluntarily without being hobos. So I bought this when I was very young. This is a old book that my grandma gave me a few months before she died. It's Jack London, The Vagabonds, and this is more for memory than it's very old book, more from a memory than anything else, because I was also reading into the watching Into the Wild, and then I realized how my grandparents had this on their house. I was like, oh, can I have this? And yeah, I should take it as a present. This is, if you read On the Road from Jack Kerouac, this is the only attempt of Neil Cassaday to write something. It's translated in Spanish, and I think I didn't finish it because honestly, he was better character than a writer. This is 10 Ways to Say Apple. It's about poetry, like how to write poetry more like. And this is from Tolstoy. This is a very short story for kids. Not for kids, but involves death and so on. And it's illustrated and it's super fast to read, but it makes you think a lot the moment you finish it. This is, of course, if I have Thoreau, I had to have Emerson. This is Wilderness. This kind of books, it's in Spanish because back then I couldn't really read in English. But this kind of books, you have to read one stuff and then reread it again to understand it. It is, maybe it takes twice the time as the other books to read. And then back here I have some Catalan poetry, and here I have the first book ever I read in English, The Hobbit. I have tons of underlined words and so on. I really put some effort in reading all this. Back then it was 2012, I believe, and I was living in San Diego learning English, and this was the first book ever that I ever finished. The first one, I mean. So yeah, those are all my books that I have, that I keep reading, or that I'm really into, or there are some memories, even though I have Kindle. So Kindle, I'm just downloading or buying whatever book I want to read, and if I really like it and I want to keep it, then I purchase the paperback. I like soft paper more than hard ones. So yeah, that was it.